Welcome back. You've just seen the seeds of a terror plot planted in an Islamic cultural center in Copenhagen. That conspiracy would spread across Europe, parts of North America, and back again via the internet.
Even more than his lectures, Abu Ahmed's efforts were finding a far wider audience on the internet, with what is known as paltalk, one of the numerous chat rooms that bring together people of similar interests. In this case, the interests were the most aggressive forms of jihad against the West.
It's good communication. If you have a sheikh who is having a website, you can write him and he can answer you. It's a good communication while you are sitting here and the sheikh may be
a wider audience on the internet, with what is known as paltalk, one of the numerous chat rooms that bring together people of similar interests. In this case, the interests were the most aggressive forms of jihad against the West.
It's good communication. If you have a sheikh who is having a website, you can write him and he can answer you. It's a good communication while you are sitting here and the sheikh, he will be in Lebanon, Palestine, etc.
Websites like these are Salafist from one of the most anti-Western strains of Islam. It was through chat rooms like paltalk that an informal network took shape, linking together the young Muslims from Denmark and Sweden, whom it was claimed by police shared an interest in armed jihad. But at the center of the web of jihad was an old house in London, England. It was where an even more significant player lived, a 22-year-old Muslim immigrant, whose web name Irabi 007 mixed Arabic and James Bond, Irabi being the Arabic word for terrorist. Irabi 007 was quickly establishing himself as the webmaster of armed jihad. He became a master at posting Islamic websites for brief intervals, just long enough for them to be downloaded and passed on infinitely across the World Wide Web. There were such web postings as the jihadist top 10 moments of death for the American troops in Iraq. To the eerily precise instructions on how to make a suicide belt, complete with nuts and bolts, that can inflict the most hideous wounds on innocent civilians. And with earnestly helpful bonus demonstrations about how a suicide bomber could best position himself to inflict the most casualties. The internet was becoming the instruction manual for the Islamists. But when he was not acting as webmaster for the most violent factions in the Middle East, Irabi 007 was a link between Maximus in Bosnia and the young Islamists in North America, like the two young Muslims from Atlanta, Georgia, who drove to Washington, D.C. and extensively videotaped locales in America's capital. A seemingly harmless enough activity, harmless until the videotape turned up under the bed of Irabi 007 when he was arrested in London, England. Suddenly, links seemed to emerge all over the place. And one of the most disturbing of these links occurred when the two men from Atlanta who had made the videotape in Washington drove further north to Toronto, Canada, and met with young Canadian Muslims who were soon to make headlines of their own.
Coming up next, what you didn't know about that big Toronto terror plot. And later, a young Muslim comes under the spell of a hate-filled radical imam. His family is shocked. Folks, it is heartbreaking.